All right, and so we're going live. It's another episode of Look Who's on Campus, and this time it's Jen Rudis. I, of course, am your, I don't know, host with the most, or just plain host, DP Knudten, and I'm really excited to have a really good, close friend of mine, Jen Rudis, on today, and we're going to get to know her a little bit, but first, let's take a look at her smiling mug. And there she is. Are you out in Middleton, or no, you're in your office, right?
No, this is my home office. That's my sauna, behind me.
Of course, because wherever Jen Rudis goes, there's going to be an infrared sauna right behind
Got
her.
it.
And we'll get into that in just a minute. But first, let me just give you a little bit of an introduction to Jen in her own words, even though they may be in third person. And that is, this is coming straight from her Meet Jen Rudis page on her website. And one of the things I want to do is applaud you for telling your true story in a way that is authentically true, but having known you for as long as I have, I can also say it's authentically you, which is, one of my big things, and one of the key tenets of nonfiction branding is be completely true and be completely you. Well,
Right.
I think this page is exactly that. And so, without embarrassing you, I just want to give people a basic understanding of where you're coming from.
Okay.
Jen
Oh,
Rudis.
are you gonna put up my before and after photo? Is that why you're saying you're not gonna embarrass me?
No,
Oh.
I'm not going to do that. Although I do encourage anyone who might be watching this video to check out generate-wellness.com. Go down to the lower footer navigation, and you'll see a section that says, or a link to Meet Jen Rudis, and that's exactly where you can find this write-up. And you can see a pretty dramatic before and after, because the before Jen is not the after Jen who you see before you right now. And again, we'll get into that, but let me just set it up by saying that Jen Rudis is a certified holistic health coach from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and is the founder of Generate Wellness, a wellness center dedicated to empowering natural health and creating a vibrant well-being. A native of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, go Hodags, Jen lived up north her entire life until relocating to the Madison area in 2014. Graduating from Nicolet College with a degree in business management, she worked for Coca-Cola in HR and finance for over 14 years. Jen's interest in health and wellness began in 2009. Unconvinced that prescription medicine was the best solution to address her thyroid and weight issue, she explored alternative treatment. And I'm going to leave it there because I want to pick up the conversation to understand exactly where you are now. But let's just say that's where you were then, which was you were a heavy. I'm going to allow you to determine how heavy you were, but you were
Overweight and
big.
unhealthy.
Yeah, you were heavy. You weren't healthy, and that health, again, based on conversations we've had, the health issues weren't just physical health. There was also mental health. Because,
Right.
am I correct in understanding that your point of view, there is no real divide between mental and physical health?
Oh, absolutely. I think that there were so many, like looking back at it now, at the time, my goal was, weight loss. I wanted to just get to a healthy weight and feel good in my own skin. Obviously, along that journey and making a lot of those changes, it really translated into mentally. It wasn't just physically, it was mentally you weren't well. And so I actually had to start with the mental health piece of it and start finding out and figuring out, what makes me happy, what doesn't make me happy, what relationships aren't serving me well, like answering some pretty tough questions. But as you know, I'm a pretty jump all in kind of person. So I wasn't going to do this halfway. And the coach that I had found at the time, who we've now become fast friends, obviously, she was my nutrition health coach. But she was exactly what I needed at the time, because she told me straight up, these are the things you need to do. These are the hard decisions you need to make. And we just started eliminating factors in my life that were getting in the way of me feeling stressed, making me feel stressed, so that I couldn't eat the right foods. I was eating because I wasn't feeling awesome, the comfort food, end of the day in the evening, like popcorn and candy and ice cream and those comfort creature foods. Looking back now, obviously they were awesome at the time, but looking back now, I was kind of comforting myself with things that felt good for 5 minutes. So it was wrapping my head around why are you addicted to sugar? How are you going to stop eating sugar? I replaced my evening sugar addiction with tea, which is exactly why I have a huge tea bar at Generate Wellness. It's not just for my customers, it's selfishly for myself as well. I drink tea all day long while I'm at the office because it's just an awesome replacement for, some other things like Kit Kats and whatever else wasn't serving me awesome. So the mental piece of it. And once I started feeding my body with better fuel and better foods, I started feeling better. I started sleeping better. I started waking up feeling like, I could maybe go for a walk or a small jog or, do something that was outside the box. So it really just kind of got the motivational wheel going in the right direction, but it started with the mental piece for sure.
Well, and let me tell you, one of the truths about Jen Rudis, from my point of view, is that she's as mentally strong a person as I've ever met, because I think they're bulldozers with your name on it. Because
ooh, that'd be fun. Maybe I should have made that my logo.
Yeah, well, exactly. No, let's say you're a bulldozer in a velvet glove, but but it's really
like
true
to get
that
stuff done.
from my point of view, it's really true that when you discovered your true self, when you literally shed off the false Jen and discovered the true Jen, you found your power, and
Totally.
in a really meaningful, actionable way. One of the cool things about you is that you're working in an area that could seem a little nebulous or smoky, cloudy to a lot of people, because illness is very clear. When you have things, hives or something, you can see it. Mm-hmm. But wellness is like invisible.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people can pretend to be well.
Yeah.
And they're not.
I've seen some incredibly fit people who are incredibly ill in a lot of different ways.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
And you're about treating the whole person, but you're also about doing it with very physical means. For example, right behind you over your shoulder, people can see an infrared sauna. And your health and wellness studio, which is located in Waunakee, Wisconsin, it's called Generate Wellness. It's right on Main Street. It's very hard to miss. You actually have multiple infrared saunas that people can come in and reserve for a period of time. They can buy punch cards or memberships and all that stuff. Plus, you actually sell them. You retail them as a distributor for a specific brand of sauna, infrared sauna. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
Sure. And again, how I got into this. So, I started getting interested in health coaching and teaching people what helped me lose, well over 100 pounds. My infrared sauna was a huge piece to my puzzle because what I found is that I was toxic with heavy metals, mercury and lead. And so, which sounds really like daunting and dangerous, and it is, but a lot of people have heavy metal toxicity. And it's this like, how do we get this out of our body? I don't want to say forget, but like, let's not focus on where we got it exactly, like find out the root cause, obviously, but then also how can we safely remove it from our body so that it's not going to cause more damage? That was my main concern because my levels were off the charts. And so I, again, working with this coach, found infrared saunas or infrared heat. We flew out to California, spent an entire week out there just learning about what infrared heat can do and how it works with the body. Coming back from that event, I bought one for my home. And my friend Ashley, who owns a clinic still in the Northwoods called Organique, which she's awesome. She has one in her clinic and uses it to treat her patients. It was a game changer. Like it immediately transformed my life because I'm burning calories. I'm getting all the metals out of the body, but it also became like this little, it looks kind of small behind me. This is just a 2-person one that I take everywhere with me. But it becomes like a safe haven for people. There's chromotherapy lights on the ceiling, which are used specifically for mental health, seasonal affective disorder, stress, anxiety, PTSD. I work a ton with firefighters, first responders, or anyone that's really been affected by some traumatic stress. And so it creates this space where people can just shed their clothes, shed their worries, listen to the music that they want to, listen to a podcast, or just be in their own silence if they like, or meditate. And for like once, we put the phones down, we put the laptops away, and we just sit in our own skin and just relax and decompress. And that became like the best part of my day. Like I looked forward to that, whether it was in the morning or in the evening or somewhere in between. And so when I was thinking about what I wanted to do for Generate Wellness, I wanted to create that space for other people. I wanted to create like a spa space, a very private space where people could come, whether they're struggling with illness or they're just wanting some me time, or I get, the moms that come in and they just want an hour of quiet time. I really just wanted to create that space for someone to use it however they want. And whether it's weight loss or getting that motivational wheel going in the right direction, or they're suffering from fibromyalgia, or they had an injury or a surgery or something that they just need to start to heal and repair, it gives you that safe healing space to do that. So, so that's what's at Generate Wellness. And how I got into selling them is actually that kind of morphed into its own a few years ago after being in business for a few years. So many people were like, how do I want this in my house? They would come in, sign up for a membership, come in and use it on a weekly basis or monthly basis. And then it just became the common thread, like, we want this in our house. And so at the time I was an affiliate for Clearlight Jacuzzi Saunas, able to sell them, but through the manufacturer. And they actually approached me and said, hey, you're sending a lot of people to us. We don't have anyone in the Midwest that has a brick and mortar space who's educated and is an expert in this. We would love it if you would do that for us, or, be a part of that. So so I serve as like the hub, basically. Madison is the wellness hub, I think, of the Midwest anyways. I'm happy to be partnered with a brand that's top-notch quality. Their main mission is product, not profits. And so it's all about creating the safest, most effective infrared sauna on the market. And I would test it against anything. It's hands down the best.
Well, and we're not here to do an infomercial for infrared saunas, no. But I just want to point out that I wanted to talk about this because if you think about what Jen just walked us through, you see her professional path. And it's heading in the general same direction of health and wellness, but it's taking a little bit of turn and pivot every now and then as new opportunities develop or come up. And the cool thing about Jen and her business is that she's done the work at the foundational level to allow her to do what I would call retail pivots without losing her core self. In fact, her core self is becoming stronger and stronger. And I'll point to your T-shirt right there because this is where Jen and I worked together on a number of projects. And one of the first things we did was we got together and we talked. I don't go in and have products to sell. I just want to hear you talk and let's identify opportunities and things like that. And as she was talking me through what she just did, especially what infrared saunas can do, 3 words popped into my mind, which were, train, perform, recover. That is the process. It's a circular or cyclical process that infrared saunas can help you do, not only as an individual who might have this in your health, but if you're an elite athlete like some of the CrossFit people you deal with, that's exactly what you want. You want to be able to train hard, perform better, and then recover fast. Right. And exactly. So all of a sudden, and the whole idea of cycle is really applicable to the wellness idea. Wellness is a cycle. You've got to feed it at the front end. You've got to focus on it, and you've got to continually refresh.
Right. So it's consistent. I mean, consistency is key in all of it. And so the circle goes round and round and round.
Exactly. So all of a sudden you can see, we've got some mental concepts there that apply to everything Jen does. And this is kind of what I think of as the nonfiction branding work that I encourage, and our entire nonfiction brandversity is all about. It's about finding the elements of you that are applicable and reconfigurable into anything you want to do. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. So Jen's talked about infrared saunas and the benefits that she's seen. She hinted at the idea that she's working with firefighters and first responders, and I just hinted at that she's working with elite athletes like high-performing CrossFit athletes.
Yeah.
And she mentioned that Madison's kind of the health or wellness center of the Midwest, the upper
Yeah.
Midwest for sure. Well,
Home of the CrossFit Games now.
yeah, well, exactly. We're the home of the CrossFit Games. We've got an official Ironman triathlon that's every
Right.
year. We have numerous 5Ks, 10Ks, you name it, Ks. And
Activities everywhere.
yeah, people are literally relocating to Madison because of its, when you can walk out your apartment and hop in a lake to train for an Ironman, that's pretty darn cool.
Right.
And when you've got incredible roads for the biking portion or the running portion that are available to you, that's pretty cool too. So Madison's a great place to be, and it's a perfect place for Jen's work. But again, getting back to what I was saying about her professional, I'm going to call them retail pivots because they aren't wholesale pivots. They're like, no, the market's telling me go over here. The market's telling me come over this way. And again, this is because we've worked together. I know this. There was a huge tire fire in Watertown, Wisconsin. One of these big multi-acre places where old tires go to die. A fire started there, and the whole place went up. And how many fire departments responded to that event? Was it like 27 or something?
It was a lot. Yeah, it was over. It was a couple. It was a few, like a couple dozen for sure. Like they brought in resources from everywhere, all over the state.
Well, and this was like 2003 or something.
Yeah, I want to say it was like, I should know this, 14-ish years, maybe 2003. I don't know. You were doing all the footage that day.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact year, but
I don't either because
let's say
I've
it
worked with
was
so many groups
let's just
now.
say it was 2003. Multiple fire departments respond. All those first responders are trying to put out the fire, trying to deal with the environmental catastrophe that, you can imagine the groundwater problems or the water runoff problems, all this stuff. All these people are breathing in toxins at a level you cannot believe. The only other people who might be able to understand that level of toxicity would be the first responders at the World Trade Center. I mean, there was so many toxins. These guys and women would come off the site covered in toxins, and you can only imagine the toxins they ingested in their lungs. Well,
Right.
they started having health problems, major ones. And Jen, again, I'm going to blow your horn a little bit. Jen, knowing what infrared saunas might be able to do for these people, reached out to the Watertown Fire Department and said, hey, I would love to get a sauna in your firehouse.
And ironically enough, they were actually looking into it already. So they've got some forward-thinking folks on their crew, and they were actually, serendipitously, they were already, like, it was already in their wheelhouse when I called them.
Well, and, the universe has ways of combining good energy together. The good energy coming out of Watertown of wanting to take care of their first responders was joining with the good energy coming out of Generate Wellness and Jen Rudis, and the connection was made, and that's leading to an entire area of your business that is starting to take off, right?
Yeah, definitely. That was definitely a pivotal moment last year. Yeah, it was about this time last year, actually, right? Was it 2 years ago, or was it this last
No,
year?
it was this past year, yeah.
Yeah. That really kind of opened up, the fire industry. I love working with them because they're some of the most passionate people, and they truly love what they do. And I think it takes a real special kind of person to want to do that work. That's not cut out for everybody, obviously, but for those who it is, they really love it, and they have a drive to help other people. So I relate to that on a different level, but I found working with them, just like, you saw me, I like elevate. I don't, it just brings out a fire in me, no pun intended, that is just like, I want to help these people. And so, but you have to be patient, because that's an industry too that They do a lot of vetting of products, and they want to make sure that what they're bringing in is safe and is like they don't want to be marketed to, which I completely understand. They're an industry that needs help with technology, but they want to make sure that that it's genuine. So that's the other piece I like about it is they're all just authentic and they just want to give it to me straight. And so, yeah, I reached out to one of their fire chiefs and we started the conversation. And it literally, like, I remember my first conversation with them. I was sitting in this office here at home and I was, pacing around up out of my chair and just talking. And the next thing you know, like an hour and a half goes by and we weren't even just talking about saunas. We're talking about just what they need and like what that industry goes through and the mental health piece and, just how everything that they entail. So, I was passionate about giving them a sauna and that's what we did and went over there. And it was funny also because I work with a organization called the Firefighter Cancer Foundation out of Florida. And we've been working together for a few years. And it turns out Cindy from that foundation is great friends with a woman in Watertown. And so, again, how the universe works. I called Cindy to tell her what we're doing. Like, I've got this great project. And she's like, oh, I know so-and-so over there. And so she flew up. And, as you know, we went over there, spent the day. And the nice thing about that, too, is we focus on the firefighters and what they need and help them in any way we can. And then, obviously, it's all about sharing information. And so it's just it's just kind of rolled. That I'm a small business owner. I don't have an endless checkbook or deep pockets to market. And so it's all about just organically sharing information. And these firefighters, that's what they do. It helps them and they share it out with people that they care about in other departments. And so, you get a call here and there from others who are like, hey, we heard Watertown is using an infrared sauna. Can you tell us more? Sure. We have a conversation and it just starts like that. So.
Well, and that points to one of the central tenets of nonfiction branding again, which is be your legitimate self. I know
Right.
you are not a slick snake oil saleswoman.
No.
You are not one of those people who's going to lean up against their Maserati showing stacks of cash and then talking to the camera saying, this could be you.
Oh gosh, no.
That's not your.
No.
That's
I show up with messy hair.
Well, exactly. You wear that on the floor of a trade show like the firefighters trade shows, and you talk to people who come up, and you will spend hours with them if they're interested in it, trying to answer every possible question, and that's truly you. That's completely true, completely you, and absolutely key to your nonfiction brand. You aren't trying to be someone else. You are who you are. And guess what? Again, this is because I know you and we've dealt with some of your competitors. You do have some snake oil competitors.
Oh, for sure.
And they will come in and slap you upside the head every once
Literally.
in a while. Well, yeah, there was an altercation that required intervention by some police, I believe. Not because of you.
No.
But my point is that
because people get a little crazy and they lose their sight and their mission and they forget why they went into business, and it's to help people and to be yourself and find the folks who want to work with you. Like, I have no interest in working with people who don't want to work with me. I know that sounds raw, but if you don't want to work with me or we don't have a connection, like, that's okay. There's probably someone else doing what I do somewhere that you might resonate with, and that's totally cool. Like, there are a lot of people on the planet.
Well, there are, and it reminds me of the old Chris Ducker line that I love to remind people of. Market like a magnet, attract the best and repel the rest.
Yeah.
Let's face it, if people aren't going to dig you, don't waste your time on them.
Yeah, I remember like one of the first times you and I met, you came over to my home office here and we chatted, and you said something about, I'm going to butcher this, so you're going to have to correct me because I'm sure you've used this or it's fresh in your mind, but flock with the folks who... Okay, you say it.
Fly with the flock you want to fly with.
Yeah,
so,
fly wherever you want to fly. A lot of different birds flying around, and find your flock, and that's what's going to create your flow. And so, it's never like that. It's not like that every single day. Obviously, the days ebb and flow, and sometimes you feel like you're going a little off course. But I've been in in the area now doing this for about 5 years, and I finally feel like I've found a really good synergistic niche in some folks, that work well, that I work well with, and I've learned a lot about myself and what not to do, when not to go after something that doesn't feel right or doesn't feel good just for the sake of a sale or for the sake of getting to know somebody. I just kind of like, no, thank you. Like, it's okay.
That stuff will keep you sane. Sharon Land has to sign off, but she says, great getting to know you more, Jen.
Thanks, Sharon.
Yeah, I must sign off for now. I'll come back and watch the rest later. Again, Sharon Land. Hey, by the way, NonFiction Branders, how cool is this? Remember meeting Sharon Land? She was our very first Look Who's on Campus episode, and we talked about her desire to take her side hustle, which I called her soul hustle, and turn it from a side hustle to her full-time gig. Guess what?
I was watching that one.
Yep, she just did. So congratulations to Sharon Land for
Cheers, Sharon.
for leaving the world of realty and hopping in the world of holistic wellness. So again, if you and Sharon haven't talked in detail, you guys should, because I think there's a huge overlap of your Venn diagram.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that. I know we've communicated a little bit just on Messenger and done some things, just chatting, but I see her on Facebook and I see her stuff. So it's one of those, definitely going to connect.
Well, and someone else in the feed is saying, love your energy, Jen. When you believe in what you do, it really shows. And by the way, anybody who wants to have their comments show up on screen with their little profile pic, there is, actually, I don't think I can throw it up on screen. I'm just looking. No, but there is a ecam.live/8782 lowercase c4. Sorry, I got to throw that up on screen so you guys can have your profile pic show up just like Sharon Lands did. But anyway, I want to get back to the CrossFit. This is cool.
No.
For anybody in Madison, Wisconsin, you'll know that CrossFit comes to town and takes over Madison for about a solid week.
About a week. Yeah, it's a 5-day event, but people show up early and they stay a little bit. So it's about a week.
And you know it's happening when you're down by the Capitol and you see all these people in Lycra with bike shoes and cleats clacking on the stuff.
Everybody's just loving the summer fun. Yeah, it's good. I love it.
Yeah, but let me tell you, it's a big deal. And you started having a booth at their fair or their expo. And talk about that. How did you get involved with the CrossFit folks?
Honestly, that was something that, how did that spin for, it literally was one of those things where, same with the firefighters, like I just started thinking like, I don't think there's a sauna company working with CrossFit athletes. I wonder if anyone's doing that. And, you and I have talked, obviously you extracted my brain and wrote a book for me, which was awesome. And we did a lot of conversation about train, perform, recover, and who that would apply to in different markets and different arenas, and how we could help other people. And athletes just came to mind. And then serendipitously enough, the CrossFit Games had moved into this area back in 2017. So I actually called, my sauna folks and said, hey, is anyone working with any athletes? Do you guys mind if I kind of take the lead on this and kind of dive in? And they said, no, go ahead. Let us know how we can support. And so it just, because it's here in my backyard, basically, it just made sense. And so, yeah, I started the process, filled out the application. It's a very lengthy process because it's a very high quality brand and they want to work with elite folks. But I just kept, following, what they said and jumped through the hoops. And then they gave me the green light to come in and basically be a vendor booth in their space. And they're very particular about the type of folks that they want to work with. They want to make sure that it makes sense. And I was over the moon. Obviously, I knew the work that was entailed was coming afterwards, but I was just over the moon that, a small fry like me in Madison can accomplish that and get in with some like brands like Nike and Rogue and like huge brands. I just went after it. And so.
Well, and boy, That's the flock you want to fly with, right?
Right. And I know, and I think I remember texting you we were chatting, like I was burnt out. I mean, that entire summer last year was just, I mean, it consumed my summer, but it just kept going. But I remember after like day 3 of being at the event, now these are 12-hour days, 8 in the morning till 8 at night, 5 days a week. You're on the vendor floor. You're talking to athletes. They're passionate. It's a lot of conversation. You're on all day long. And I remember coming home one night, driving in my car with like this massive smile on my face, feeling like I think I just found my pony. Like when you get on and you can just coast and go, like it just felt awesome.
Well, and
To be in an arena of people where you just feel that like valued and just having great conversation. It's awesome.
And that's because of all the foundational work you laid to create your true nonfiction brand. You didn't even know it because we didn't even know each other at the time, but you started laying that foundation all the way back when you went to Nicolet College,
Yeah.
or the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, because you had a career with Coca-Cola. I mean,
Yeah.
and having worked on Coca-Cola from the branding and creativity side, I know that once you're in with Coke, you're a lifer. So for you,
Everybody is.
yeah, for you to spend 14 years in a lifer job that could leave you really well off if you make it to the end of your career, that had to take some soul searching.
And some serious guts. Yeah, I started with Coke when I was 19 years old. And so Coke has a formula of your age plus your years of service equal 80, you can retire fully vested. So I could have retired at the age of 49, fully vested, like massive, financially set up, or comfortable, I should say. And, obviously the age of 49, that's not a bad age to retire. And so, that was rolling through my head. And as I think it was my early 30s, I think 30, 31 ish, I was starting to think like, yeah, I just don't know. I don't know that I, want to keep doing this. And then another year went past and, things just changed and my passion shifted and my life shifted and my goals shifted. And I literally was donating and volunteering my time, helping people in the community read labels. I was meeting people on Saturday mornings at the local health food store, helping them understand how to eat better and what peanut butter to buy and what's safer for your kids. And I wasn't getting paid to do that yet. That's like all I was thinking about. And I just love that. And so it took guts. But yeah, I somewhere along the line, I figured, I literally probably have at least 20 years left to work. I should probably be doing something I love. And so.
Well, not only that, working at Coca-Cola, here's one truth. You'll never own Coca-Cola.
Oh, right. Yeah. You're either going to work for an entrepreneur or be one. And I was never going to be one in that company. Like, not.
Well, and knowing you as I do now, I can't imagine what it was like for you to have this entrepreneurial engine, this entrepreneurial spirit, and you're locked into one of the most corporate of corporate jobs.
Yeah. It was an interesting dynamic. I mean, I loved my job in the sense of like mostly because I love the people that I work with. In Rhinelander, it's a pretty small town and we covered a lot of territory and a lot of us were like lifers. I was actually the youngest, least serviced one there. So everybody else had been there for a lot longer than I. And, we had a pretty tight knit group of people and we had a good time. Like we had as much fun as you could possibly have fun. But we worked hard and, the people made it really awesome. But I also, I had some other creative energies. I flip houses on the side. My side hustle is flipping houses. I'm into real estate, buying and selling real estate. So that was kind of like a creative outlet for me. So I kind of had a side hustle, while I still worked for them. But yeah, it became one of those things where it was like, ugh. Like the monotony is getting to me a little bit. Like I had a great office with windows and I had the freedom to do things that I needed to do, but I didn't have the freedom to think outside the box. And I hate to say that because I hope no one for Coca-Cola is watching, but it really became like, even as managers, we weren't allowed to always manage the business like we had been able to in the past. And so that became really difficult to be doing a job that you really couldn't creatively and freely think and creatively, not just freely think, but engage and like implement. And so for me, I'm just like, I'm twiddling my thumbs going, oh, this isn't going to be awesome.
Well, and I want to point out to people that the job you described to some people would be like, oh my God, that's heaven. But it wasn't for you.
And a lot of people thought I was crazy.
Yeah, well, and you've heard me say way too many times, know who you are so you can be it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you now are truly who you are. There is alignment between who you know yourself to be and the person you are actually being. And I know, believe me, I've seen you on those days where you're just dragging because you spent 12 hours on the floor at the CrossFit Games, or you just flew back from Indianapolis from the firefighters convention, and you're dead tired, but you got this smile on your face because, oh my God, DP, you will not believe the person I met, or the opportunity I just had, or the fact that I'm now hanging out with these elite CrossFit athletes down in Miami, for crying out loud.
I know.
Living La Vida Loca, and that would not have happened to this young girl from Rhinelander had she not really learned who she is, discover her real passions, and start to live out those passions.
Yeah.
So I applaud you for that.
Thank you. And I will point out, too, what was really nice. I had a unique opportunity. The boss that I worked for at Coca-Cola, she was a true boss, like a true leader. She embraced, we had a lot of conversations about like what I wanted to do and like what I was thinking about doing. And she was very instrumental in kind of feeding and fueling that and allowing me to grow. And like, we were still working on projects and she knew that I was like implementing a lot of that stuff into like my own business plan. And she was like a true leader. And so that also helped me think about the kind of boss that I would want to be in my own business, to be a leader and to allow people to kind of fly and do what they do best instead of forcing them to do something. And I'm always, that's something I'm challenged with right now as I'm hiring people and I'm looking for like who best fits in these boxes or in these spaces, because it's not my wheelhouse. And I want to find a person who loves doing that. And so they can just do that, for my company, obviously, but just loves doing what they want to do instead of me hiring somebody and then saying, oh, this is what you're going to do. Actually, I want to hire smart people who can tell me this is how we're going to do it. So that was a huge pivotal piece in my career with Coke that helped me be able to take that leap and knowing like there are really supportive people.
What you just described, hiring people who are smarter in a certain area than you or better in a certain area than you, requires a level of confidence that can only come from knowing who you are and knowing that you are being that. So in my case, you've heard me say this, I'm sorry, I'm not a numbers guy. You're not going to get a spreadsheet from me. You're not going to find any talking about nanoseconds, click on target, or click on button or stuff like that. I don't do that. Google Analytics and me, I think I'm allergic to stuff like that. But what you will get from me is creativity on cue that hopefully is going to make you go, wow.
And a kick-ass book that you've written for me a few times.
well, thank you very much. And that's one of the things too, is when you create that foundational thing, I'm sorry if you guys have heard this analogy a few too many times, but if you create a great cake, that cake can be refrosted any number of ways. So the book that Jen's talking about is a book about infrared saunas and health and how to support your health with a regimen that includes infrared saunas, healthy eating, etc. That book, The Foundation Cake, we've been able to refrost specifically for a firefighter's, first responders audience, and for a general audience, and for a high performance athletic audience. So
like general home and business use, and that's why I worked with you, because that's your jam. That's your That's what you do well. I don't. I
Exactly.
don't. I mean, I have the ideas up here, but to extract them out and to be able to put it on paper so that people can resonate with that. So yeah, worked well.
Yeah, Lisa Galea, who is a newer member of Nonfiction Brand Versity, welcome, Lisa, is saying that hiring the right people for the job is so important, and
Hmm.
I couldn't agree more. And I want to say one of the key things about doing that hiring the right way is having that kind of personal brand or small business brand that you do, so you now have a touchstone against which to rub those people to see their quality, to judge their quality. Like, if you were looking for someone to aid you on the sales side, you could bring in any number of what I'm just going to call a bucket of snake oil salespeople who can get the transactions done, but couldn't build a relationship for their lives. And I know that your business is not about transaction; it's
No.
about relationship.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
if you run into those salespeople that can say, "I guarantee you, I can sell 5,000 saunas this year," you can know they're going to make that number, and you're going to get 4,000 returns because people aren't going to be satisfied, or
Yeah.
they're going to be in your face because something didn't work out right, and
Yeah.
they'll be active negative evangelists for your business.
Yeah, that actually totally happened yesterday. Working with a customer in Chicago. He's actually a firefighter, and has been vetting and looking at a sauna for his home and working with a competitor of mine. And he called, I've just been sending him the information that he asked for. We've spoken on the phone a few times, and just had good conversation about stuff. And sometimes it trails off into other things, actually. And then last night he called and just said, like, he was talking about a comparison, just had a couple questions about the heaters and asked me what I thought about the other companies. And I just said, I don't throw other folks under the bus. That's not my style. But if you want me to answer the question, I will. I will tell you. And we just had a great conversation. And at the end of it, he's just like, thank you for being honest, like not trying to blow smoke or create a sale. Now, I've been talking with this guy for well over a month. I hope that he pulls the trigger on it soon because I think he'll love it. And, the sooner he can start using it, the better. But I want people to make the investment when they're ready, and forcing someone isn't going to feel good for anyone, really. So yeah, I mean, again, those are things that I learned in other, working for Coca-Cola. We were numbers. I mean, we were goal driven, numbers driven. You got to make numbers. You've got, I handled the budgets. The budget was my thing, and so we had numbers to make. And when we fell short, it was like, sometimes the sales folks were like, are we going to have a job? And me in HR, it was always one of those things where it's like, gosh, I don't want to live under that pressure. Like, that's just a lot of pressure. You generally go into a business or go in or meet somebody, go into a network event. Like, I'm not the person who like whips out my business card after 5 seconds of talking to them and be like, oh, call me. It's like, no, if you want to find me, ask to, do you have a business card or do you, yes, actually I do. And I'm usually like digging around my purse or something looking for it. I'm a little bit more prepared sometimes, but for the most part, it's just about having a good conversation. And then if somebody wants to meet with you, we've got LinkedIn or whatever, how someone can find you. But if they ask for your information, that's different. If you're like forcing it in their face, that doesn't feel good at all. I usually don't. I'm usually like, no, thanks.
Well, let me tell you that I will say there's one way to know that you're nonfiction branding yourself right, and that is when someone you've been talking with asks you for your business card or your contact information.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's
having it available,
thing,
yes,
though.
by
Yeah,
all means, it's basic business 101. Always have business cards with you. Duh.
I know.
But the key is to have them ask for it. Why? Because
Mm-hmm.
you then know they want it.
Yeah. I was at an event a few months ago and I literally saw a woman walking around and you could see it, that her cards like clutched in her hand. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, first of all, I was trying to think, did I ever do that? Like, was that ever me? That was my first thought. And I think there were a few times that I had them in my hand, but never like walking around an event. But I felt bad. I almost wanted to approach her and ask her for one of her cards so that she just felt comfortable and just say like, listen, like, don't feel like this is a place where you have to like hand out your cards like candy. It's just a way to have a conversation, and people will like you after a few minutes of talking and wonder what you do, and then ask for your card, and it's great to have it available. But I remember looking at her and just kind of watching and thinking, that isn't ideal, I don't think.
Well, it's certainly not for you because you know who you are.
Yeah.
And you are actively being it. And something just struck me. I know that some people believe in the law of attraction, the idea that you can imagine, kind of pre-visualize things and make them happen by simply thinking about them, that law of attraction thing. I found in my life that there's a kind of polar opposite of that, which is called the law of not giving a. Every time, and this goes back to when I was an actor, I would go on auditions, and some auditions I really, really, really wanted, and I wouldn't get. The ones I walk in and go, okay, this fine, I don't really care. Consequently, I'm really loose. I'm having fun. I don't care. All of a sudden, that level of confidence communicates to other people, and it's like, well, I want you to care. Therefore, I'm going to give you this part because you're fun, you're interesting, you've got energy, but you aren't needy. I am now needy because you're not.
Right.
It's this weird, perverse thing, but it works.
It totally works. And I've implemented that into mostly when I travel and go, like recently I was in Miami last month at the Wadapalooza Fitness Festival, and that was a huge undertaking. It's similar to the CrossFit Games, but obviously on the other side of the country. So it's a lot of moving parts. It's moving saunas across the country, traveling, getting people there. And, a few people in my circle were like, what's your goal? Like how many saunas do you want to sell? What do you want to do? And I'm like, I never go into these events anymore thinking like I need to make these sales because I don't want to be disappointed and feel like it was a failure. And I just, I went and had fun. We set the booth space up so it was inviting and open and invite conversations and people. And I didn't at all really think about like making sales or I've got to nail this or I want to meet so-and-so because there were some pretty big athletes there. I did have, hopefully I could meet a few folks, but DP, it was literally one of the best events ever, and so many doors opened and met so many cool people, and it's still it's still moving in because I literally just didn't go into it feeling like I have to do this or I have to have a certain outcome with it. It just feels natural. And so, I think that there's definitely something to be said about when you try really hard. And I still do that. There are certain things that you try really hard to do and then it just doesn't work out. But I'm working and a lot of times I sit in my sauna or sit in a space or in my office and drink my tea or whatever and just think about how can I play this down a little bit? Like how can I calm down and calm my nerves and focus on the things that I need to take with me? Like what's important for me to have, not what am I going to do when I get there. I don't know. It's just a total shift and it's changed. And I think it's really kind of helped elevate my business as well. And so I definitely encourage anybody who's trying super hard to show up everywhere. Just don't try so hard. Like don't intentionally try. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe that doesn't sound right, but don't try so hard so that it feels hard.
Yeah, well, and it goes back to know who you are and be it.
Yeah.
And, again, Chris Ducker's great line, market like a magnet, attract the best, repel the rest. If you are who you are, if you are truly presenting that to other people, you will attract the best. And
people will find you.
Because they get you.
Yeah, people will find you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a hard time with videos and stuff like this, and I know you've told me like market or do videos so that people can see you. Like this isn't hard necessarily, but it's hard for me to be on a camera or do selfies or do those videos because I don't feel like myself doing those. So that's why it's hard for me to do. But somebody else taking a video of me or shooting footage of me while I'm interacting with people, that's key for me. So that's what I'm working on now is hiring people to follow me or come with me or, work with me, because I have found I'm not my true self when I'm holding up
Yeah.
my phone or videoing it. So
Yeah.
it's all about
That's a
figuring
form
it
of
out.
being true to yourself too, is finding the channels and the styles and the types of posting or videos or audio that works for you.
Yeah, find
You
what
know,
feels good.
exactly. Well, boy, this conversation was supposed to be half an hour. We're now going close to
Shocking for
50
overtime.
minutes. Shocker. But I just want to say thank you so much, Jen, for coming on
John,
Look
thank
Who's
you.
on Campus. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We're going to be doing more of these periodically, so keep your eyes out for that. And Jen, great to see you. Love to see that
Yes.
Train, Perform, Recover shirt on you.
Yes.
And hope to see you all around campus in the next week or so. So signing off for now, I'm DP Knudten, and she is...
Jen Rudis. Thanks, DP. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.